Alright, this is the quest of his blood and bone. This is the quest where you go with Vernon Roche to find Anais, the daughter of Foltest, instead of trying to find Triss Merigold, who is imprisoned within the Nilfgaardian camp. Unfortunately, you can only do one of these quests, and my final save file uses this quest, or this decision. It doesn't really matter ultimately in the end. At least I don't believe it does. Maybe it would mean something in The Witcher 3? Who knows? But if anyone was wondering about, say, like the experience that you can get from different quests and all that, well, the level cap is 35 in this game, so you stop getting experience points after hitting level 35, so it doesn't really matter after a point. Choose the option that you want to do, or the one you haven't seen, so just do that. It's not that big of a deal.
Deathmold's put up that magic barrier again.
But this quest has you chasing after Deathmold.
I dread to think what he's doing inside.
And man, is that guy creepy.
Why are you here?
We have business with Deathmold.
The sorcerer is busy.
This quest does not have nearly as much combat as the breaking into the Nilfgaardian camp. That quest, well, this quest is pretty much all combat too, but the amount of enemies you have to fight in the quests, this one has a much lower number. I guess also with this quest here, you have Vernon Roche actually fighting off a bunch of the enemies for you. So he takes care of the enemies pretty well. You don't really have to. You don't have to babysit him. Like, he doesn't have a health bar or anything.
Quickly, up top!
Yeah, I think he asked you, like, which way, like high or low, and like you choose which path you take. But okay, no, okay, you don't actually get a choice. But yeah, if you haven't thought Vernon Roche is kind of a madman to start with, this quest kind of proves it. He just butchers everyone here.
Close that cursed gate!
Vernon Roche is actually running up top, fighting a lot of the archers for you, while you stay here and fight the grunts on the ground. You can actually see Vernon sometimes in the background, fighting the enemies here. I ducked into this little corner just to get out of the way of any archers that may be coming through, or sorry, not coming through, may be able to see me. Now, there is a magic field that is stopping me from just running through from. Yeah, that guy.
Ready, Geralt.
And now that he's left, after I kill these two guards, I should be allowed to proceed. And this happens a couple of times. Kind of have artificial barrier put up, stopping you from just running through. And you do this a couple of times, and then you actually get the Deathmold. And you get to fight him, I believe. Or Roche just might kill him in a cutscene. I forget exactly which happens.
Hurry over here, you cunts! You're dead! Out of your arms! Send for reinforcements! Block that thriving passage!
Luckily, friendly fire is on for the enemies, because that wizard just hit one of the guys with a fireball, killing him, instead of me. So yeah, there's a lot of dudes to fight here. Using the adrenaline finishers can be really helpful for these larger crowd fights. The default one, I believe, automatically kills one enemy, at least for the swordsman path. The magic one, I believe, is a sphere where anything inside it slows down, projectiles, enemies. I think even you might at the basic one. And I have no idea what the alchemy tree like final thing is. That's maybe the one thing I would want to do for this game still, is play through with the alchemy tree, because I've never bothered with it before. I have no idea like how effective it can be. I have seen one thing where the alchemy tree is exactly what you need for one specific situation, but other than that, I have no idea if it's useful outside of that one situation. And that situation has not actually appeared in these videos yet. It's actually the next video, at least on my little like list of videos to work on. I don't know, I might mesh together both paths of Chapter 3 just to make it easier to look at when it's organized. You might just see both versions in a row, or like, yeah, like both versions, because a lot of the quests are exactly the same in Chapter 3, so I just figured have all the stuff that's different like right beside each other, and then all the common stuff is just in the middle. Still making my way through the camp. So yeah, the Swordsman Adrenaline finisher, the fully upgraded version, will target 3 nearby enemies instead of just 1, and that can be really helpful when you're in a crowd.
Watch out.
And I believe this may be the final wave of enemies until you fight Death Mode, which is, well, pretty much right after. Then you have to fight a few more enemies, and then you leave. Witch 2 has a lot of combat. I'm not sure what anyone's expecting here. Still a good game. Nothing wrong with a lot of combat in a game. I don't know. Sometimes I find it hard to do these voiceovers sometimes when it's just lots of fighting. You probably know what you're doing at this point. But, well, whatever. No, those weren't the final enemies. I see there are more coming. But now Roche is rejoining you at least, so it'll go faster, I bet. If he can actually get to the enemies. Okay, this is definitely the final set. The wizard has come down off his little perch and he's actually trying to engage with you on the ground. The wizards in this game are difficult to deal with sometimes. They constantly teleport and like putting up their shields. Yeah, I just try to use R to stun them. Because if you hit them, they immediately teleport, the wizards. Luckily, that last Ard stunned him, and I was able to get a finisher move on him. So here we are in Death Mold's chamber, lair. I'm not quite sure what the proper term for it is. But either way, we're going to confront him. You get to see some closure to all that.
Nice. Strangely quiet. I can hear him. Fuck.
Yeah, Anais is kept in a little room with a bit of a barrier just over it. So
Did you
obviously
see
the way to
Radovid's
deactivate
retinue? I
the barrier
swear the
is to kill
snot-nosed
Death
lad
Mold,
thinks he's king of the
which
world.
is exactly what we're going to do.
He should never have shown up here after the recent events in Redania. Honestly, if he grows to be another Vizimir, I hope he ends up like the first. And those robes of his, did you see? All right, there's time for one more. Hands off. You've broken my arm! You've broken my arm! Do you know it's worth, you son of a bitch?
Now it's worth shit like the rest of you.
What do you want? I'll give you anything.
You can't give back what you took from me.
Cutting off your balls and slitting your throat will have to do.
No!
You reap what you sow. Time to free Foltest's daughter.
Okay, so I clearly forgot that he does just die in a cutscene instead of actually fighting him. But you have his key and you can open up some of the stuff in this
He
room.
forced me.
Oh, okay, the one thing in this room. So now that the barrier's gone, you can actually get Foltest's daughter, and then
This
you're supposed to leave.
She's terrified.
Except you will be stopped by some Redanian soldiers, I believe.
Child, Vernon. I made an arrangement with
Because political story reasons.
Kings only keep their promises when it suits them.
We saw him together. You heard what he said.
You didn't have Anais then. Now you do. Take a minute. Consider your options.
I'm a soldier, not a diplomat.
Well, you need to
Oh, yeah.
stop thinking like
You
a
have a
diplomat.
option here
You're
on
about
who to
decide
give
tomorrow's
Anais
future.
over to. If you give her to Radovid, technically Redania
Do you trust
will
Radovid?
be, or Temeria will technically be ruled by Radovid, who is the current ruler of
Kings never say
Redania.
what they mean.
If you
They
give her
want to hear.
to Constable Natalis, who's another Temeria,
What else could you do?
Temeria will continue to be
I either break
independent,
my pledge to Radovid
but
or honor it.
then
Suppose
weird
you
political
break it.
relationships with Redania might start showing up.
Enemies are something you can handle.
It's one of those choices that
yourself.
wouldn't have
The
any
Temerian delegation is in Loch Muin. Maybe we should consider handing the child over
like
to them.
real effect in
John
The Witcher
Natalis.
2
Good
unless
soldier, poor
they made
politician.
another chapter that took
Natalis
place
may not be the most
like
polished
years
diplomat,
later.
but both your grandmothers tilled the same soil. Your grandfathers fought side by side.
By taking the child to John Natalis, I'll spark a civil war.
It's still cool to have these choices
Throne
and
until they feel a boot on their neck.
like have a lot of characters explain like how big of a deal a lot of this stuff actually becomes
I don't blame
later.
giving her to the Temerians
And
will
obviously
solve
all
our
this stuff is
problem.
actually just
But
outside of
freedom's precious,
Geralt's
Vernon, one of those things you don't
well,
appreciate
interests for
till
that
it's gone.
matter. He doesn't really
Considered what
care
they'll
about
say in
politics. He
Temeria
never
when they hear
did.
Vernon Roche handed their
It's just
crown
in these
princess to the heir
stories of The
foreign
Witcher,
state.
he keeps getting dragged into politics and all this other crap that he
Careful,
never
Vernon.
wants to see.
It's a slippery slope.
Because
You
he's
could
a monster
easily be
slayer.
branded
That's
a
just
traitor,
what he
and
wants to do.
brands are tough to scrub off.
I guess you're right. Dishonored I'll be no one. Not in Temeria, not anywhere else. The
But yeah,
time's
I
up.
decided to give
Come, child. I'll take you to a safe place.
her over to John Natalis to rule Temeria when she becomes old enough.
Looks like someone's provided an escort.
In the name of King Radovid, we demand that you hand over the child of Louisa La Valette.
We're headed elsewhere.
Not my concern.
Okay,
My
so
orders are clear.
they're not
We are not
proper
Radovid's
Redanian
subjects.
soldiers.
His orders
It
don't
is
apply
the
to
Order
us.
of the Flaming Rose. I
won't
don't
come peacefully.
believe they're directly in the military
Us again, you fool.
of Redania, but I believe Radovid uses them as a military like unit. So a few more guys to fight. There's not many, so, and I believe this is the last of them. And then you just kind of leave this area, and then you can head on off to the end of the game. Excuse me. So I'm gonna leave it off here. So, see ya.
So, to the Temerian camp?
We've lost a lot of time. The talks have probably begun. Come, child.
Henselt will want to avenge his dead sorcerer.
Henselt hates me anyway for humiliating him when he was in my hands. I'm never short about this. I've learned to live with it.
You never know how the Temerians will receive Anais.
Where are you going, Geralt? Come back! She's a royal blood. That should be enough.
Many in Temeria believe the bloodline ended with Foltest,
What are you trying to tell me?
that some of your countrymen may already see themselves as the founders of a new dynasty.
If you want to find me, I'll be at the talks.
See you, Vernon.
Renounce magic, I tell you!